Hi everyone, it's Amy Layton here with Anne Bulstrode. I don't know which way she is.
Yeah.
And this is overcoming stress based on your personality temperament. I'm really excited to do this. Thanks, Anne, for joining me with this.
Oh, you're welcome, Amy.
No, thank you so much. I think this is going to be hopefully really helpful to for people in life and business. So the reason that we're doing this today, everyone, is so we saw a need as we're all dealing with a lot more stress these days with COVID-19, just that whole, personal life reality of that. And some
Mm-hmm.
of us in the business life have had to tweak a lot of things, and it's been stressful. Personally, actually, this is, only been using Zoom for the last couple of months, so kind of shied away from it until I kind of had to use it. It was stressful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm no stranger to stress myself. As many of you know, I am a real estate agent. My coaching company has had us go through a really in-depth personality profile, different from what Anne does, but kind of, I just think it's very, very important. Getting to know myself better
Mm-hmm.
and what to do with myself in different situations has tremendously helped me in life and business. Um, like knowing how I function and how I react to things it's been very, very helpful to know, not beat yourself up so much about, hey, why do I do this, why am I doing this, and you kind of know how to deal with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought I would do then, knowing that about me with my coaching company, is I thought I would call in a local expert on this subject of understanding your personality. So this would be my very good friend, Anne Bulstrode, of course. I'm just going to read off my paper because I'll totally forget and I don't want to get it wrong. Anne is certified in a number of assessment tools, but predominantly in the Canadian assessment tool personality dimension. She is a master facilitator with personality dimension, and in fact, she's actually one of only a handful on Earth who can say that. That's amazing. When he told me that, I was like, really? That's super cool.
Yeah, there aren't many of
Um,
us out there.
yeah. So welcome, Anne. I think clearly we should start by you telling us a little more about yourself.
Okay, thanks, Amy. Yeah, as Amy mentioned, I am certified in a number of assessments, but the one I really like to use is personality dimensions. I find the reason I do that is because it's easy to understand. People get it first time out. So a little bit of my background. I've been working in this field for 20 plus years, really. Something that's always fascinated me, though. I've always been interested in people and how they function, why they do what they do. So when personality dimensions was being developed back in 2003, I was part of the focus groups that worked on the development of it, and I've been using the tools since then, and I just love it. It's, as I say, it's so easy for us to make use of, and I use it in as much as I can in my work these days.
Yeah, it is very amazing. I've
Mm-hmm.
been to a couple of your presentations, and we've become very good friends over the years. And I have found that super helpful as well, which is why we're here. So yeah, let's dig in then. We've got a few questions. We're going to keep this just around 15 minutes or so, and we will let everyone know at the end how they can get a hold of you.
Okay, great.
Sounds
Thanks,
good.
Amy.
All
Mm-hmm.
right. So question number one I have for you is well, I mean, it's kind of the obvious thing to start off with. Can you give us a quick overview of each of the colors for
Sure.
in personality dimension?
Yeah, there are four colors in the personality dimensions. They are authentic blue, resourceful orange, organized gold, and inquiring green. And the prefixes to each of them give you a little bit of insight into what each color is. But what I'll do is I'll go through them and give you just a very brief explanation. I was joking with Amy earlier. I said I could talk for hours on this subject, but no, I'll keep it as brief as I can. So if we start with the authentic blues, they're all about having meaningful relationships and self-actualization. And that self-actualization for themselves and everybody else around them. They really believe that everybody is capable of doing as really whatever they want to do. They just need to figure out how to do it. In terms of their strengths, they're very good listeners. They don't just sort of hear things and kind of, they're not thinking about what they're going to say while they're listening to somebody else. They truly listen to people and take it in. They're also very good at reading body language. Quite often, an authentic blue can walk into a room and figure out what's going on even without anybody saying anything.
Hmm.
They're very good at expressing themselves, whether it be in writing or verbally, and they love to identify and develop the potential of others. As I said, that whole self-actualization, whether it be for themselves or for others, if it's for others, that's where they're at their happiest. They're yeah, they're kind of the uplifters. They hate conflict themselves. They'll actually go out of their way to avoid conflict. But having said that, they're very good at mediating conflict. And I think the reason for that is because they are such good listeners and they read body language. So they can actually see what both sides of the story is going on. And then they will just bring the two people together. Because quite often conflict is all about people just aren't hearing each other. So they're very good for that. They are big picture thinkers. They see the big picture. So sometimes they get a little lost about the details. They work well with conceptual ideas, and they're very intuitive and imaginative. Quite often, an authentic blue will just say to you something's going to happen, and somebody else will say, well, why? The authentic blue can't necessarily explain to you why, but they just know it will, and it usually does. So those are our authentic. Then we have our organized goals, and I think of the organized goals as being the worker bees. I don't think the world would actually run without organized goals. They're the ones who keep us on track. For them, their must-haves are they must feel a sense of belonging, whether it be at work, at home, in the community. They need to feel as though they're a part of something. In terms of their strengths, they are highly organized. As I say, they are the organized goals. They're very adept at planning and setting priorities. If you ever want somebody to figure out how to go about implementing something, go to an organized goal, because they will be able to put it out step by step and follow it. They're the people who write the to-do lists and actually follow their to-do lists. I know myself. I'm very good at writing them, but then later in the day, I sometimes can't even find them, let alone follow them. So, but the organized goals are very good at that. They're also very, sorry.
Oh no,
they're also
sorry.
very
I was thinking like this would be like our admins and our
yeah,
teachers, our assistants, and
they're very good at those kind of jobs where they need to do the planning, the prioritizing, the writing, the lists, that kind of thing. They're also very loyal and dependable, very down to earth, grounded people. If an organized goal tells you they're going to do something, they're going to do it. They will come through for you. They have very high standards for themselves and for other people, which can sometimes make it a little bit challenging to work for them. But they don't expect anything more from somebody else than they expect from themselves. They're very cooperative with others, and I think that goes back to that whole need for belonging. By being cooperative, they do fit in, they do belong. They're very very grounded in tradition. They tend to draw on the past when they're decision making. They add the stability to our culture. They're the ones who are all about the traditions. They know where things came from. They know why they are the way they are. And as I say, they're sort of in some ways the pillars of our community, and as much as they're the ones who keep them together. They're very strong that way. The community is very strong for them.
Wow.
Awesome. Yeah. And then we have our resourceful oranges, and they're all about freedom. They need freedom to do things the way they want to do them. Yes.
Think of like Braveheart. Freedom. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
You need to be your own person.
Yeah, it's true, and that's what oranges are all about. They're in terms of their strengths, they're highly adaptable. Actually, we quite often call them the chameleons because they can sort of adapt to any situation, and it's sometimes difficult to tell what color they are because they can take on the traits and characteristics of any of the colors. They are that bit of a chameleon, adaptability. They do tend to work very determinedly to develop their skills, but they're not afraid to show you what they're doing as they're developing their skills. They're very tactical. They always have that next move in place. They know where they're going with it. They are great problem solvers, particularly in emergency type situations. We sometimes actually call them our adrenaline junkies because they love those situations where they don't know what's going to come at them next. So whether it be EMS, fire, emergency room, anything like that, or even working in a call center. I don't know about you, I've worked in call centers,
Oh,
and you
nice.
never know what's going to be on the other end of that phone.
Right.
Well, oranges actually thrive on that. They love that kind of situation.
Mhm.
They always do bring a sense of fun and playfulness to anything. They want us to have fun. They think life, they live in the moment. They don't draw on the past. They don't think a lot about the future. It's all about right now, and they love new challenges. So they're very, and they can be very competitive. So those are our oranges.
Wow.
And last but certainly not least, we have our inquiring greens. And with the greens, for them, it's all about being seen as competent and learning. They love to learn. Now, where the oranges are willing to work on their skills in front of people, they don't mind doing that. The greens are a little different in as much as they don't want to show you as they're working on the skill. They'll show you the skill once they've developed it, once they feel comfortable and they know that they're competent in what they're doing. They're also very logical and logical problem solvers. They love big, complex problem systems. They like to put things into a very systematic view. They always bring healthy skepticism. Sometimes they're kind of people will sometimes say, hey, why are you always trying to pick an argument with me or whatever? No, they're not. They're kind of playing the devil's advocate, and they're doing it to make things better. They're always looking to improve systems, the way things work. So you have to think about
They
that.
don't mean it. They're just trying to help.
They're trying to be helpful, yeah. Now, the other thing though is that they can sometimes come across as being a little bit cold, because they are very sort of data-driven, logical, complex. They like the data and the facts. They base their decisions very much on the data, whereas our authentic blues are much more emotional.
Very like more relational and
more relational. They base their decisions on what impact it's going to have on the people, as opposed to what impact it's going to have on the data or the bottom line. So that's a little different. Now, when we think about it, our blues and our greens are both big picture thinkers, and our golds and our oranges tend to be more detailed oriented. So that's kind of a little bit of a difference there. Now, I've only really given you just a taste of what those are.
Yeah, I can see how you could talk about this for hours and days.
I can go on about this stuff.
But how helpful to even know like what color you are. What color are you in?
I'm actually a blue, orange, green, gold.
Okay.
And one thing I should mention too is that everybody's actually has at least a little bit of every color in them. So we say we're all plaid. It's just our hue of plaid will vary depending on our color spectrum.
Because I was orange.
Yeah,
you predominantly an orange
blue.
Like orange, blue, green.
Yeah,
gold.
I think. Yeah. That's why you do so well. And you're very creative. You're very people oriented. So that works really well with what you do for a living. But you also find it very useful having a very good administrative assistant to do those detailed stuff that you're not necessarily that interested in.
Yeah, exactly. So this is why I wanted to bring this together, because I know how much it helped me. So this is so wonderful. So then this leads into since we're talking about overcoming stress. So what does each color look like then when it's stressed? Just really quickly. I guess starting with the blue again.
Yeah, I'll start with the blue again. Now, and sometimes we see when we talk about stress, we talk about people going to their dark side, because it's almost, and quite often it's almost the reverse of what we expect from that color. So for example, with an authentic blue, they're all about the relationships. But when they're stressed, they can become very quiet, withdrawn. They can actually seem very, very remote and not want to be around people. So it's kind of the opposite of what we think of. And if they are pushed too far, they can actually become very short-tempered, impatient, irritable, and in some cases physically lash out at people, which is not what you'd expect from an authentic blue.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect that from a blue.
Yeah. Well, you know me quite well. You haven't seen my dark side.
Oh, okay. No, I haven't.
It's not a pretty picture.
You have a dark side, Anne?
I do, yes. And there are a few people who could tell you about it.
Oh, well, what about so who's next then? What is the next one?
Our next one is our organized golds. And for them, remember, they're all about being belonging, community, wanting to help people, but doing it their way. Well, what can happen with a gold is they sometimes they get into situations that they go to the situations that have the negative outcomes. So instead of trying to think through how things will work in a positive manner, they start looking at all the negative possibilities from an outcome, and that can be very.
They kind of go to their dark side.
Yeah, again, they go to their dark side. They can be it can make them very tense, very depressed. It makes it so that if they find it difficult to accomplish things, which for gold is very difficult because they're usually very good at doing that. They can become, as I said, very quiet, irritable. Sometimes they'll even get temporary memory loss if they're really stressed. Wow. And the other thing is, now golds, as I mentioned, they like things done their way, and they do have a certain assertiveness to them. But when they're stressed, they can become very assertive, and they almost take on that attitude of my way or the highway, which can be difficult for people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so so just something to, something to understand about the golds. And as with all the colors, when they're stressed, they all have issues. Then we look at our resourceful oranges, and for them, they can become very confrontational and at times physically aggressive. Now, remember, the oranges do tend to be they like to do things from a physical perspective. They like to build things. They like to work with their hands. Well, when they're in undue stress, that can be very difficult for them. They can also become very great procrastinators. Now, oranges will tend to not work deadlines the same way that a gold will. A gold will have, you give a gold an assignment, it'll be finished 3 weeks ahead of time. With the orange, it'll be finished the day ahead of time or the day of, but it'll definitely get done. They'll meet their deadlines. But when they become stressed, they may actually start missing deadlines. They can also resort to some not so great behaviors around stimulants such as cigarettes, coffee, drugs, alcohol. They may engage in addictive behaviors. Sometimes even gambling and overeating can become an issue for them, because they can have the tendency for that addictive behavior. And when you're stressed, of course, that's when the bad behaviors come out, right?
Wow.
Yeah. So.
All right.
Yeah. So usually, and then finally we have our greens, our inquiring greens. Now, again, it's kind of going to their dark side. They can become very short-tempered, impatient, frustrated. Now, greens don't like redundancy. They don't like people to tell them the same thing over and over again, anything like that. But they'll become even more short-tempered around that. They can appear very cold and unfeeling. Now, I mentioned that they can seem that way a little bit anyways, but when they're under stress, it can be really cold. Like, it's almost like they're freezing you out sometimes. And they'll often resort to sarcasm as a way of dealing with it. They can become very self-critical and question their own competence, which is really hard for a green because they're all about feeling competent about what they do. Yeah,
I remember what you said earlier, like that was such a big thing for them. So if they start feeling not competent, then
that's really hard on them. They can start to make mistakes, miss important details. They'll even go out of their way to avoid situations where they don't feel they're competent. And normally those would be situations they'd be quite comfortable in. And as a result of this, they may isolate themselves from situations and people, and then find it very difficult to reconnect afterwards. So that, we do. So we all present in different ways when it comes to stress.
Yeah, well, I can see how it, if you don't know what to do about it, it can become quite a cycle. And just maybe bring you deeper and deeper, which again we could talk for a week about that.
we could, yes. And I have had
knowing what color you are and what you look like when you're stressed. So then I mean, so what can each color do then? I guess starting with the blue again, to overcome the stress and get back to a better place and deal with things that we sometimes can't change, and we have to just get there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, as I say, and right now too, I mean, we all of us are dealing with a certain amount of stress. I mean, even if you are, you know, you still have your job and you're still working and things like that, this whole situation has been stressful for everybody. But
It's been pretty rough for so many people. So
it has
yeah.
really.
So starting with
With our
with our
blues,
blues again, yeah,
okay,
what can they do to overcome it?
they really need to sort of step back and re-examine what gives them purpose and work on
Mm.
those things. So find ways of
Mm-hmm.
providing themselves
Mm-hmm.
ways go back to what's the meaning of life for them,
Wow.
and it may be a little bit different moving forward than what it was. I mean, particularly because they need those relationships, so they need to find other ways of, you know, things like Zoom it's been a godsend in some ways because it's allowed us to at least have our relationships, even though we're not, you know, and it's something I know I've said probably a number of times is one of the things I'm finding hardest is not being able to hug people. I'm a hugger, and a lot of blues are huggers,
Hugs.
and so yeah,
I
that's
miss
hard.
hugs too.
Yeah.
I got some blue in me.
You do. Well, blue's your secondary color, so yeah.
Oh,
But so you have to figure out other ways of, you know, okay, I can't hug people right now, but what are other things I can do to stay connected with people,
yeah.
even though I can't physically be there with them. They also need to avoid their own problems. They sometimes what will happen is they'll almost become so involved with either their own problems that then they want to avoid them, and then they become overly involved in helping other people. So what they need to do is learn how to say no and take that step back and take care of themselves. Okay.
Yeah, that
They
makes so much sense.
Yeah, and a
Yeah.
big thing for blues is guilt. One thing
Mm.
blues suffer from particularly is feeling guilty. So they need to recognize that guilt is really just a trap, and that they can easily fall into. I remember somebody once telling me that guilt is a wasted emotion, and it really there's no place for it. And as a blue, it was like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, intellectually that makes sense to me, but emotionally, I still feel guilt. I'm
We
not gonna
still
lie.
feel, yeah.
Yeah,
We still
and
feel good.
realistically, right now, I mean, we don't really have anything to feel guilty about in terms of COVID, as
Right.
long as we're following protocols and things like that.
Yeah.
But still, there is that sort of nagging little bit of guilt
I
in the background. So we
I
have to
can
acknowledge.
see. What do you think of this one? So I can see, like, I'm trying to think of a way that a blue, if someone's watching this right now and saying, I
Mm-hmm.
think I'm a blue, and
Yeah.
saying like, because there's so many like fundraisers going on and so many people that need
Mm-hmm.
help and like just can't
Yeah.
help everybody, and
Yeah.
you feel so guilty that you can't
Yeah.
help others, or maybe someone
Mm-hmm.
really close to you that you just want to like wrap them up and like take them out of where they are and bring them
Yeah.
to a better spot, and
Mm-hmm.
you feel guilty. So that's something that
Yeah.
blue just has to know that that's not a real emotion. There's like, what would you?
Yeah. It's I you've got to figure out, you've got to say to yourself, okay, I can't save the world. I wish I could, but I can't.
Yeah.
What are some things I can do that are realistic? I mean, I know for myself, I've applied to go back to volunteering on the distress line. I used to do that a few years ago, and I thought, okay, that's something I can do. It's something I can give back during these difficult times.
Yeah.
So I'm, you know, that's what I'm doing. But any blue needs to think about, okay, what can I do? What's something that I, you know, tangible I can be doing,
Yeah.
but that it's realistic as well.
Yes,
Because
I think that's,
realistically,
I love that you
we
said
can't
that.
save the world.
Realistic is huge, because yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah, and that's sometimes hard for blues because we do tend to have difficulty saying no. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, they need to figure out ways that they can be creative. Look for creative outlets, because blues are happy when they're being creative. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Then we've got our organized goals.
Mm-hmm.
So when they need to learn, again, they need to learn how to say no as well. But the goals is a different kind of no. Like goals, it's all about the very practical things. So they need to not take on too much, not say yes. Okay.
No, that's okay.
Again, realistically, what can I do? They need to try to, and okay. They also need to figure
We still
out.
got you. Keep going.
You got me? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah,
No, that's
no,
okay. This is just part of
They,
our reality now.
it is, yeah, unfortunately. They are also, when they find themselves in unfamiliar situations, which right now we're all kind of in an unfamiliar situation, they need to figure out, okay, how can I acclimatize myself? How can I sort of draw on my past and make it work for what's happening now? Okay. So they need to think about that kind of thing. What are things that they could maybe be doing to make them feel more comfortable during all this?
Wow.
You know,
great idea.
Yeah, and and then also think about situations where they've been in unfamiliar situations before, and they've had really good outcomes from them.
Yeah,
so
reminding themselves, like, I've been through tough things before. I mean, none of us have been through anything like this.
No,
that would really help the goals.
Yeah, that really helps them because it's a way of, remember, they like to draw on the past. That's how they make their decisions. That's how they're comfortable. So if they can draw on the past for situations that had positive outcomes, then they can say, okay, so what are the good things coming out of COVID? I hate to say it, but there are some good things coming out of it. Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, yep. I mean, so they need to focus on those as opposed to the negatives. Okay.
Excellent.
And so that's our golds. Now our oranges.
Please
now they really need. Yes.
Oh man, I'm just kidding.
No, but a lot of things, and these are some things I've seen you doing actually, is they need to use their creativity and ingenuity to finding ways to be spontaneous, ways to have some fun. I mean, I've even noticed that, like, on some of the videos you've been doing recently and some of the posts you've been doing, you've been using that creativity. You've been having fun with it, because that's, as an orange, that's where you go, and that's where, that's your happy place, right?
And I already knew that, and that's why it was helping me.
Right. Also, for oranges, if they can be physically active, they're going to be happier. That's going to help them relieve the stress. So whether that be, it could be manual labor. We're seeing a lot of people, getting out gardening, or this whole baking craze. But it's doing something with your hands, doing something tactile. Well, the oranges are going to be really happy, and that really helps relieve their psychological stress. So, and really,
well, it has for me. I can speak from experience on that one.
Yeah.
Except and baking.
Yeah. Well, hey, baking isn't for everybody.
No. Well, but it was going okay, and then I ate them all.
Yeah, well, that's the downside of the baking, is that you want to eat them. So, you have to balance it, because that is something. And actually, really, with all the colors, you can have overeating can be something that you do when you're stressed. I think it's it's just a reality.
I make the best chocolate chip cookies. Just saying.
Oh, don't tell me that. It's just as well I don't live next door.
Yeah, it's good. It's probably good. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. And then finally we have our inquiring greens.
Yes. Our sweet greens.
And pardon me?
Our sweet greens.
Our sweet greens. Our sweet greens. And really, for them, they might find it useful to reconnect with important people and activities in their lives. Because remember, as I said, when they're stressed, they'll sometimes disconnect, even more so than some of the other colors. So if they can find ways to reconnect and to still make sure that people are parts of their lives, even though they're not all about the relationships like the blue, they still need those connections. Yes. They are human beings like the rest of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and because they have that tendency to be overly self-critical, they may need to take the time to reflect on their successes. Look back at, okay, yeah, I am successful. I do know how to do a lot of different things. I have something to add to the world.
Or to pat yourself on the back.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Yeah. Right.
And then they should work on projects that confirm their knowledge. So, do things that you're good at. It'll help rebuild your self-esteem in some ways.
Wow. Well, all this makes so much sense.
Oh, good.
This is excellent. Wow. So, okay. Do you mind if I go into the next question then?
Sure. Go ahead.
Because I asked you this question a while ago, and I want you to answer this for everybody. Can a person evolve from one color to another over time?
Yes, definitely. If I kind of look at myself, as I said, we're made up of all four colors. So if I look at myself, there was a time in my life where I was managing large projects and I had two elderly parents at home, both who were in need of a lot of care. So I was working from home. I had them to deal with on a daily basis and all their appointments and medications and everything. And then I was also still managing, managing big projects. So what I had to do in that situation is I tapped into my gold big time. I said organized gold's my least preferred color. I was probably not at my happiest during that time because it is my least preferred color, but I was certainly able to tap into it and make use of it. And there are actually ways that we can learn, although we will not change who we are at our core, we do develop over time based on the situations we find ourselves in. And then given whatever context we're in, we actually can present differently depending on the context. So if anybody had met me during that time, they would have and didn't know my color spectrum. They might have thought I was a gold because I was presenting as a gold in everything I did. Yeah.
Wow. So awesome. Yeah, because we're all the same, and well, I mean, I don't mean all the same. I mean, like we
No,
all have
we all
different
have,
levels of each color.
yeah, we all have all four colors, and there's no reason why you can't learn how to tap into them. As I say, depending on your life experiences, you will have probably learned how to develop your other colors, and then depending on the context, you will use them differently.
Right, because you have that one that will always be at your core.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
well,
you
actually,
can learn to develop all of them, but then
yeah.
it's like you'll always have that one that will be your predominant.
Yeah, and actually, not everybody just has one predominant. When I take people through assessments, some people have, like, sometimes they'll have two that are pretty much even. I've even had people who've done the assessment and come up even on all four colors.
Wow.
So different people have different levels of their colors.
That would be like the ultimate chameleon, like a unicorn.
Yeah, though I always think those people, it must be easier for them to sort of morph from color to color, or just, and
it would like jive with everyone on Earth.
Yeah, and actually one of the things I teach in a lot of the work I do is how to step into the other person's shoes. So even though I'm predominantly blue, if I'm working with somebody who is predominantly, say, a green, I'll try and step into the green shoes and present my ideas and that to them from the green perspective as opposed to from the blue perspective. So it can really help when you're trying to influence people and get them on side with what you're doing.
That's what I love about when we first met in I think it was one of your first presentations that I went to at an event, and to learn, like, part of what you teach is how to recognize what color someone else is.
Yeah.
And learn to communicate with them effectively, so that it helps both of you.
Yeah,
so amazing. It's helped me. I had a client who was a green, and you helped me realize that he was a green.
Yeah.
So it ended up helping me change how I was communicating with him. And he was so extremely thankful. We got their house sold, and they've been a great source of referrals for me. Perfect. And they became friends just because I learned how to deal with him, because I knew there was something there, and I'm like, oh, I'm not servicing this person.
Well, you can. So you figured out how to talk to him using his language as opposed to your language.
Exactly. And we still got it done. The same goal happened.
Right.
So this, I mean, and this can help, with their at home right now. We're all at home with our significant others, and or even just talking on Zoom chats, or waving at the neighbor, hi, and you're just, you're kind of like we're sort of seeing the same people all the time. And those of us home with a husband or a wife or a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever, or family member, or someone who just ended up being at your house when all this happened, now they have to stay there. This is why I felt this was important to get out to, so everyone can learn how to be with each other. I know, deal with the stress of everything. Just try to make it better for everybody.
Yeah, actually, one of the things I'm doing right now is I have been working with some couples and some families taking it all the, the whole family through the assessment and then saying, okay, this is why what they're doing is driving you crazy. And, let's, they're not doing it to annoy you, although you might feel that way. It's who they are at their core. And of course, right now we're spending 24 hours a day with people that we might not normally be spending 24 hours a day with.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that leads into the next question here. I had two more questions.
Okay.
So second last was, do you have a full assessment for people that you can, this is just a quick taste of what you do,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, you do have a full assessment you can take people through, as you just mentioned.
I definitely do. I have there's a personality dimensions assessment which can be completed online, and then there are different reports that can come out of it depending on what your needs are. So right now there's a basic personal report and a professional report. My business partner Susan Geary and I are actually working on a couple of other assessments right now. One is a wellness report that we're hoping to have out very soon because we feel it's something that's going to be necessary during these times, and an expanded personal report as well. And then we're going to be working on a resilience one. So what I do is I can take people, send them the assessment, let them take it online, and then we can sit down one-on-one and do a debrief. The debrief can take anywhere from an hour to 2 hours, depending on what your questions are and where we go. Also, we can do it I do work with organizations, and where we can do things like we can take a whole team through it. So we can figure out why the team is maybe dysfunctional. I had one team that I was working with, and they were like, the manager was an orange, and she had hired all oranges, and then couldn't figure out why her team was so dysfunctional. Well, ideally, I mean, they were having a great time. They had a lot of fun.
Imagine.
Yeah.
That would be like wheels turning like an overdrive for everybody.
Yeah. So they were kind of going, okay, well, why aren't we getting things accomplished here? And things like that, because they didn't have the goals to make them keep them on track. They didn't have the blues for the emotional support. They didn't have the greens for the logical side of things. So ideally, if you're working with a team of people, the ideal is to have all four colors as part of the team. Yeah.
So then, okay, last question. So have you ever written a book, Anne, about all of this?
Yes, I actually have. Where is it? The book is called, I wrote the book with my business partner a few years back. It's called Color Savvy, Helping You Achieve Success in Your Work Life. And this one basically gives you an insight into all four colors and how to make use of them in the workplace. So it is workplace focused. We will be having a second book coming out, hopefully later this year. We'd hoped to have it come out about now, but with COVID, as with everything else in life right now, it's gotten a little bit delayed, but our hope is to have it out later this year. And that will be more of one based around your life in general, as opposed to just your work life. But even this one with just your work life can give you some really good insights into how the whole situation.
It's a great book.
Yeah, thank you.
And yeah, I can't wait to read the other about how to implement this for life. So get one for work, one for life.
Yeah, definitely.
What we're all looking for, the work-life balance, and try to, we'll never be stress-free. You need stress in your life, and we just have to learn how to deal with it. So.
And stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, even good, exciting things in your life, like having a new baby or buying a new house, those can still be stressful events, but they're still joyous events as well.
We need stress, and that's a whole other.
Yeah. I mean,
whole other thing.
Yeah. But, we can talk about that another day.
Yeah. This has been so great, Anne. Can you please let everybody know how they can contact you if they want to know more information and about your full assessment, your book? Let us know how we can get a hold of you.
Okay. My phone number is 905-630-0306. And that's my cell number, so I usually have the phone with me all the time, and you're welcome to text me on that number as well if you prefer to do it that way. My email address is anne@ambconsulting.biz, and my website is Color Savvy, COLOURSAVVY And on the
Nice.
website, it'll give you more insight into some of the things we offer and more information about myself and my business partner, Susan Geary.
Lovely. Well, I'm sorry we couldn't have Susan here today.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Hi, Susan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this has been so great, Anne. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
I hope you all enjoyed this. We didn't want to have this go on forever and ever, amen.
Mm-hmm.
But just give you a really quick snapshot and some things that you could use today. If you're not sure what color you are, go back to the beginning, watch it again, or give Anne a call or text her. And
I mean, I gave you a quick overview. If you really want to understand what color you are, give me a call and we can take you through the assessment and you can find out for sure.
Yeah, excellent. All right, Anne. I think we'll leave it at that. And thank you so much again for doing this.
Thank you. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk to you today.
Absolutely. Gonna share this around to as many people as I can, and stay safe and stay healthy, my friend. And I will talk to you again soon. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week or the weekend, whatever it is when you're watching this.
Whenever you're watching this,
yeah. And everyone just take care of yourselves, be safe, and go by your public health regulations, and just take care of yourselves and learn how to deal with your stress.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.